Well, that was a kick. Babe, wake up! A new lesbian character just dropped, and she's wholesome. We are gathered here today to commemorate my ovaries, who sadly passed away whilst I was watching this episode of Blank the series. Cause of death, Faye's attractiveness, and kissing game. May they rest in peace. But don't worry, I've already regrown a new pair, thanks to the power of womanhood and science fiction. Double feature at RKO in the back row. You and me, baby. When I tell you I did not get a chance to breathe throughout this entire episode, I mean it. Oh, this was so messy. This was so messy. Like, what is this show? Where did it come from and why? There's nothing quite like the burning intensity and emotional complexity of lesbian relationships. There is not. It's like a lesbian won the lottery, hand-picked a fanfiction from AO3 and brought it to life for their own personal amusement. The lesbians have too much power. Can we just talk about how good Faye is at kissing? Can we just talk about that? In fact, let's just make the whole video about that because it deserves it. I don't know about anyone else, but I am definitely now with child. Faye's child, to be specific. How? Again, the power of womanhood and science fiction. My girl deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for her kissing. How are the two related? She's brought peace to these lesbian lands. Highlights of this episode: Faye laying back with an open shirt and that chain necklace. That was lesbian catnip, and I am the cat. Return of the hot doctor, yes, I'm still clinging on to that ship by a thread. I will take the crumbs. I'm still hoping for a flashback scene between her and Nung. And the highest of lights, dominant Nung enters the chat. Not only once, but twice. And I gotta tell ya, it was great. It was great for religious, scientific, personal, professional reasons. Okay. I could get some new material, but it just, homosexuality, it never goes out of style.
A true classic never goes out of style.
Look, is their relationship healthy? But is it hot? Yeah. And that's the tagline for Blank. Hi guys, welcome to a video, and in today's video, I'm just going to be reviewing episode 1 of season 2 of Blank the series. I know I'm like a little bit late to reviewing this episode, but I'm here now, outside your window again at 3 AM, but this time I don't have a boombox, I have a guitar. And I'm serenading you. Let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. I've already reviewed all of season 1, so, if you haven't seen that video, maybe you want to go and catch up on it, because I made it just for you with my special homemade ingredients. Okay, let's get into it. So this episode starts off with Sam visiting Kun Nung and attempting to make peace with her. After the whole funeral spectacle that went down, Sam forgives Nung for what happened and states that she knows how Nung tries to cover up her more negative feelings by pretending everything is fine. Sam really understands how Nung works, and Nung really needs people in her life with that level of perceptiveness. Because she's such a complex person and, she always has her walls up, she's so easily misunderstood. So it's important that she has people in her life who can, see through that. Because if you take her at surface level, she can come across as, pretty heartless at times, but she's not like that deep down, and yeah, we know. Also, to Nung's credit, she does actually acknowledge that her behavior was out of line, and she properly apologizes to Sam instead of deflecting or being stubborn, which she can sometimes be, and it was really nice to see this kind of healthy moment of verbal communication from her, as well as seeing her reconnect with her sister, especially under the circumstances. You know, they've just lost their grandmother and they only really kind of have each other in terms of family. So I think what's interesting about the beginning of this episode is it actually parallels the end of the episode. For example, after Sam and Nung have made up, Nung offers to, you know, get Sam some food because she's concerned about her. And this is actually how Nung shows that she cares for people. She's an acts of service girl, you know? And this also happens towards the end of the episode too. Nung explains to An Nung that, you know, she shows her love through things such as food and cooking. I don't know if the writers did that on purpose, but I thought it was a really kind of interesting parallel between the beginning and the end of the episode. Yeah, the writer's room. There's also a lot of sad piano music in this scene, you know, just in case you didn't realise it was supposed to be heartfelt. One thing about Blank is that the background music is always going to tell you how you're supposed to feel about a certain scene or character. Nung then goes into her bedroom and notices the love bite on her neck, evidence of her lesbian crimes. What's interesting about this is we can see how clearly, you know, being reminded of An Nung affects her. And of course, when Sam appears and also sees the love bite, Nung asks her to just pretend like she didn't, which is kind of reflective of how avoidant Nung is being about the whole situation with An Nung too. She's also pretending that it's like nothing when it's quite clearly something. This is further highlighted when Nung attends the second ceremony for her grandmother, looking like a whole snack. I might add, a snack in black. That's it. And she's looking around for An Nung, which shows that, you know, she's still very much on her mind despite everything else that's going on. And it's interesting how their connection is threaded into almost every scene, even when they're not physically together, to portray how much they mean to each other. So then Nung moves back to the palace and visits her grandmother's room, where she finally has a moment to properly grieve and, you know, just let all of her feelings finally come out. And I have to say, Faye's acting is so visceral and raw throughout this entire episode. She just conveys so much without saying a single word. All of her scenes are just brimming with so much emotion. It's just fascinating to watch. Oh, her acting is mwah. Yes, it's ass kissing, but that's an ass I don't mind kissing, okay? But anyway, I love how in this scene, you know, there's a touching moment between Nung and Auntie Nim, who we must protect at all costs. If Auntie Nim has no fans, I am dead. And I love this moment so much because, you know, it's a rare kind of glimpse at Nung's softer, vulnerable side, where she fully lets her walls down and just allows herself to feel, to be vulnerable, to be soft. And the next thing is she's then in bed, having war flashbacks over the way she treated An Nung after Nailin and Balin. And you can see how much she's haunted by what she's done. And on the one hand, she only really has herself to blame for pushing An Nung away. Like, she's the problem. It's her. But on the other hand, she just looks so vulnerable and heartbroken, cuddled up with that plushie, that you can't help but feel sorry for her. My girl, she's really going through it, you know? The self-sabotage, it's real. But that's why we love her. It's moments like this that just remind us of how human and complex she is. And these kind of glimpses of her vulnerability just bring so much depth and nuance to her character, which A, is what makes her so interesting to watch and to discuss, and B, balances out her more toxic traits too. Again, the writer's room just But as Nung is feeling sorry for herself, she then receives a call from Folk. He's out here snitching, he's out here informing. And he tells her that An Nung is at the bar getting wasted and getting down. So Nung gets out of bed, she makes her way to this bar, and this is where shit gets real. This whole scene was just crazy to me. Oh my god. First of all, Nung storms over and immediately tries to take control of the situation. As though the last time she saw An Nung, she didn't just shatter her heart into a million pieces. Okay. And then this whole back and forth starts up between Nung and the drunk guy that An Nung is with. And both of them are just grabbing An Nung as though she's a doll. And it's a game of tug of war. Like, there's no respect for her agency as a person whatsoever. It's like watching an old Hollywood movie. Here's the thing, is Nung's possessive and controlling behaviour the healthiest thing in this scene? No. But is it hot? Yes. Yes, it is. The emotional lesbian intensity in the "I'm her everything" line had me by the throat. Anyway, at the same time all of this is happening, An Nung is quite clearly drunk and being kinda spicy. She's taking subtle jabs at Nung, reminding her that she's a teenager, she's young, and she should be out having fun. Isn't this what Nung wanted? Then Nung drags her to the side and an argument breaks out between the two of them, where neither one is really communicating, again, in the healthiest way. There's alcohol, there's high emotions involved, it's not like the best combination. An Nung is drunk, she's upset, she's lashing out at everybody. And she wants Nung's attention, but she's sour with her. It's just a mess. An Nung is being controlling. She's just kind of turned up and expected An Nung to do as she's told without taking her feelings into consideration or trying to see things from her perspective. So like I said, this whole scene is it's just messy. There's, you know, a communication clash. Nung wants her to leave, but An Nung doesn't want to leave, but she also communicates that she wants Nung to force her to leave. And Nung is like, "You think I don't know what you want?" This is just lesbian math. It's confusing. So of course, because Nung knows what An Nung wants deep down, she drags her out of the bar. She forces her to leave. Folk is just stood there watching all of this intense lesbian drama unfolding before him and probably thinking, wow, this is So then they get back to the palace and Auntie Nim must be wondering what the hell is going on. Like, I can only imagine what that looked like to her, but okay. And the thing is, in this scene, like, An Nung is struggling, like, she doesn't want to be there. And she's acting like she's been forced there against her will, even though she explicitly communicated that she wanted to be forced. And she's also drunk, so the whole thing is confusing and slightly uncomfortable. She's saying one thing, but her body language is saying another. But here's the thing about their relationship. It's rooted in a dominant, submissive power dynamic. An Nung is drawn to Nung because of how dominant she is. She wants to be controlled by her. And Nung is drawn to An Nung because she likes being in control. It's quite literally their kink. That's what the novel that this series is based upon really kind of revolves around. And the series is also very tame compared to the novel, right? So I have to remind myself of that when I'm watching this show, because the power dynamic is kind of the whole point of it. And is it a little bit uncomfortable and weird in places? Yes, but if you don't like the heat, then get out of the kitchen, you know? So anyway, the arguing continues at the palace, but this time around, An Nung explains how hurt she is that Nung dumped her so heartlessly after sleeping with her. The English subtitles actually use the phrase Nail and Bale, which is my new stripper name. And An Nung rightly calls Nung out for her behaviour. This is not the first time she's had to call Nung out on her behaviour, but hey. Look, I'm a Tibet shipper. I have sat through season after season of circular lesbian drama that just seems to repeat itself, and I am well prepared for these types of situations, okay? And I have to say, Yoko's acting is just incredible in this episode as well. I mean, she completely opens herself up emotionally and just gives it everything that she has. You can really see that, and she's able to match Faye's kind of emotional intensity in places, and she's not afraid to kind of connect with her on that level, which is just amazing to watch. But again, Nung still isn't acknowledging how hurtful her actions have been towards An Nung. And again, she's just expecting her to act as though, you know, nothing has happened, to pull herself together emotionally and do as she says, because of course she knows what's best for her, right? And I can see why that's kind of confusing and hurtful to An Nung, because she doesn't process things in the same way that Nung does. You know, Nung is a lot more kind of reserved. She's able to kind of put those walls up and hide her feelings, whereas An Nung is not. So in response to this, Nung drags An Nung up to the bedroom, and instead of verbally reassuring her, she tries to kiss her instead. Why is it when one of them is having an emotional breakdown, the other thinks it's the perfect moment to break out their seduction skills? These two have an emotional breakdown kink. They do. Crying is just foreplay. Tell me it's not. Here's the thing, Nung is not a woman of words, and she expresses herself and her love through her actions. But because An Nung is a woman of words and she's still having to learn Nung's communication style, there's a communication clash, and it's not easy to sort this out because they have different communication styles. This is really the root of all their problems, and as a result, this is a very layered and intense scene with a lot of complex emotions brimming under the surface. Of course, their physical interactions are also intertwined with a slight hesitancy and discomfort because An Nung is still very much hurt over what happened the last time that they slept together. She's still very cautious. And once again, Nung's response is to just turn up the heat instead of verbally reassuring her as a way of expressing herself. And my girl An Nung, she's only human, so she caves in. And you know what? Nung, she plays her ace, because An Nung, she's a human. How is she supposed to resist? Again, is this the healthiest way they could have gone about things? No. But was it hot? Yes. Yes, it was. And do I wish I was a button? Also, yes. Yes, I do. It's the most lesbian of scenarios that there needs to be a 1-hour debrief about feelings, complete with tears and a love confession before anything physical can happen. It's the emotional lesbian labyrinth. Be careful you don't get lost in there. Anyway, there's a breakthrough as Nung finally explains through the magic of words that the reason she rejected An Nung after they had slept together is because she was worried about what other people would think and how messy the situation is. And An Nung doesn't really understand or see it from Nung's perspective, which I get because she's younger and she doesn't understand the burden or responsibility that typically lies on the older person in their situation, or the social consequences that might have for Nung. Nung is also trying to tell her mid-seduction that, you know, she's still young and could meet a lot of other people. This has also obviously been on Nung's mind, but An Nung reassures her that she's the only one, which I think Nung needed to hear because, you know, she's obviously had all of these doubts and fears around their age gap. So this talk was enlightening and healing for both of them in the sense that they both got the clarification that was needed in order to move on. And then dominant Nung enters the chat and rest in peace, my ovaries. The eye contact, the smiling through the kiss, the bites. I'm already gay. Please stop. Yoko must have rescued orphans from a burning building in her past life for this to be her job. She gets paid to be kissed by Faye. The blessings. Nung is so naturally and effortlessly dominant that she really comes into her element when she's allowed to take control. And it's night and day from their last love scene, which was still incredible, but dominant Nung, it just hits different, you know? I will say, I think their physical intimacy has improved slightly from season 1, but if I'm being honest, I think Yoko still looks a little bit awkward in their scenes together, particularly in this one. Which is strange because she's such a fearless actor who has no issue in connecting emotionally with Faye. So maybe it's an intentional choice of hers to kind of play it a little bit more reserved. But honestly, it looks to me as though Faye kind of carries their more physical scenes together. And I've spoken about this before in my season 1 review, so, you know, I won't go on about it too much. I know not everybody agrees with me, but that's kind of just how I see it. You know? And to be fair, you know, Yoko is still quite young. It's probably very nerve-wracking for her to, you know, do these kinds of scenes. They're quite, you know, demanding on multiple levels. And perhaps she's just more comfortable with, you know, Faye taking the lead, which possibly kind of plays into it. But I don't know, I still feel like there's a slight disconnect there, like physically. It does improve by the end of the episode, I will say that, and perhaps it will just get better and better as time goes on. We'll see. And let's be real, you know, Faye's kissing game makes up for absolutely everything. You know, it's fine. And just when you think everything is finally getting back on track, here comes the lick back. Here comes the twist. It's the next morning. It's all peaceful. Nung is smiling. She's happy she's got her baby back. And Nung wakes up and chooses to press continue on the lesbian mind games. Here it comes. She hits her with the "what happened last night" line when she knows full well what happened last night. She goes ice cold on Nung. She flips the script as punishment for what Nung did to her the last time they slept together. She said, "How do you like them apples? Taste pretty sour, huh?" And on the one hand, the mind games got tired yesterday. But on the other hand, I can absolutely see why she did that. Because you know, Nung shattered her heart into 1,000 pieces. We could see just how heartbroken she was at the end of season 1. Like, that ran deep. And B, I can imagine it does feel to her as though Nung consistently just holds all of the power and all of the cards in their relationship. So this is Nung's way of trying to regain, you know, some of that balance and some of that power back for herself. And of course, she wants that extra reassurance from Nung. You know, she wants to be chaste. She wants Nung to prove to her just how much she wants her. Right. But Nung is just like, okay, we're back here now. Huh? And Nung is like, yeah, I guess so. Peace. So, fast forward to the mall, and Hot Doctor is back on the scene. Yes. But unfortunately for me, Nung isn't really, you know, feeling Hot Doctor because she's sprung for Nung. And to make matters worse, she sees Nung at the mall with folk and misinterprets the situation. And Nung sees Nung with the Hot Doctor and also misinterprets the situation. And of course, all they want is each other, but they're lesbians, so, you know, everyone has to suffer instead. Okay. Anyway, Nung ends up at the university to extract information from folk, partially because Fa has been on at her to look out for An Nung, and partially because she herself is interested in low-key keeping tabs on An Nung for personal lesbian scientific reasons. It also made me laugh how she was slightly sour with folk because she suspects that he's dating An Nung. I mean, not that she's jealous or anything, of course. And then he reveals to her that An Nung is actually getting close to another girl, which really leaves her shook. And lo and behold, after she's randomly offered a job to be a special lecturer at An Nung's university, launching 1,000 new professor-student fanfictions into existence, a new lesbian character is unlocked before us. Yu is a wholesome, younger, soft butch angel who we must protect at all costs. And she's relatable because she instantly starts thirsting after Nung the minute she sees her, so, you know, she's one of us. And just when you thought this episode couldn't get any more messy, a new lesbian love triangle is born. However, as it turns out, An Nung's dad is not happy about Yu, and the next thing we know, he's grilling her about her appearance and sexuality, like what I can only describe as a dickhead. I mean, yes, he's a more traditional man, but sometimes traditional man is just a polite term for dickhead. So he calls up Nung, who is also a lesbian, but he doesn't know that because she doesn't have short hair. And he complains to her about the situation. So then Nung shows up with Sam, the lesbian backup, and he explains to her that he doesn't find homosexuality normal and cannot accept a gay daughter. Little does he know he's complaining to the woman who is sleeping with his daughter, flirting with his daughter's university girlfriend, and who also has a lesbian sister. My man is blissfully ignorant. Luckily, Nung handles the homophobia like a boss. She points out that there's nothing wrong with An Nung dating another girl. She should be free to make her own choices, and that he's not going to get closer to her by having that mindset. And she refuses to get involved on his behalf. Now, is this going to cause problems for Nung and An Nung down the line? Is he going to be a grandma 2.0? Or is he going to come around? We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, Nung returns to the table full of lesbians. She flexes her lesbian charm on Yu, and An Nung gets tired of it and storms off, prompting Sam to point out to Nung that she must be pretty jealous and be feeling some type of way to be acting like the way she is. But Nung seems pretty confident that she knows what she's about and that she's got An Nung where she wants her, and she's right because An Nung turns up at her place that evening. And here they have it out again for the 50th time this episode. But at least this time around, they put the mind games aside and An Nung is honest about how she was frustrated that Nung wasn't showing signs of jealousy over Yu. Sweet progress. As a side note, you can cut the sexual tension in this scene with a knife. And Nung more or less tells An Nung not to make assumptions about her feelings and how jealous she is or isn't, which of course suggests that she was, which makes An Nung incredibly happy. And now that she's got her somewhat confession, they're finally able to have an actual healthy, honest conversation without the manipulative mind games and high emotions. They have a very heartfelt exchange over dinner where Kan Nung expresses that, again, she's an acts of service woman. There's significance in the meal that she spent time cooking because she suspected that An Nung would turn up. And that's how she shows her love. She's not into showing her love by being jealous all the time, even though she is low-key jealous all the time, and that she's too old for the game playing, even though she consistently plays mind games with An Nung. But hey, we love a complex, contradictory character. It's giving Bet Porter. So it seems like the storm has finally cleared for now, and they come together in a much healthier, calmer way with no tears. Oh my god, there's no tears, finally. Is it healthy? Yes. And is it hot? Yes. And dominant Nung enters the chat. once more, blessing the entire lesbian community twice in this episode. I really love this scene. It's very soft and tender compared to their earlier scene together. And I think this kiss is one of my favourite kisses of theirs so far because they both finally just have their walls down in this scene. And it looked to me as though Yoko was much more comfortable in this scene too. So yes, it was a very peaceful and beautiful ending to a very emotionally tiring and turbulent episode. Overall, I think this was an incredible first episode. I mean, I did not have a chance to catch my breath at all. The amount of twists and emotionally intense lesbian drama that they managed to pack into it is nothing short of impressive. The acting is also just chef's kiss in this series. Like, it is really good. It's like a palette of engaging performances. I could write a dissertation about dominant nung. Maybe I will. Maybe that will be my PhD. All of my dissertations have actually genuinely been on gay stuff, so why not? And of course, episode 2 is already out, so I need to go and watch it, take some gay notes, and get back to you. We will reconvene here soon. In the meantime, please enjoy the rest of my offerings. Okay guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on this episode of Blank the Series down in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe for instant disappointment, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!